Hello. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we are back for another episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is season Sweet 16, and this is episode 20, and this is the reunion part 3. We are finally at the end. I'll be honest, I actually did not mind the reunion. But it still should have been just 2 parts because there was just a lot of filler. And what I did not mind about the reunion is, and this is unfortunate, man, I learned a couple things. I learned that Portia's not as much as a villain as we thought she was, and Shamia is more the villain than we thought she was. I never thought prior to this reunion, if you would have told me I would side with Portia, actually prior to the season, because we knew that something happened between Shamia and Portia at the beginning of the season because of like how long the season had filmed since then and them seeming not cool when it came to the media. But we didn't know why. I think for the longest, all of us were just all like, Portia must have did something. And come to find out, as the season has played out, and as more receipts just keep coming up, Shamia is the problem. Now, is Portia a good friend? No. I'm not giving her that. I don't think Portia's a good friend either. I think there's misunderstandings across the board, but is Shamia innocent in this? No. If anything, this is a case of Shamia and her ridiculous passive aggressiveness going horribly wrong. And what we learned when it came to the overall reunion, so part 1, 2, and 3, is Shamia does not let go of things at all. Like, throughout this time when we are talking about Shamia's grievances with Portia, we're talking about things that happened over 10 years ago. Like, we're talking about things that happened when Phaedra was still on the show originally. Like, we're bringing up things that have nothing, like, that didn't even play out during the season. So it's like, so what is really our problem? And then we also find out, and you remember the part 2 of the reunion, how she still had a problem with Phaedra, and Phaedra didn't even know because she doesn't communicate this. She's very passive aggressive, nice, nasty, and extremely immature. And I'm sorry, Shamia, but I'm going to be whacking you a lot in this review because I also saw your apology that you did on your channel. Well, I didn't see it. I didn't watch the whole thing because I was not watching that long. Sorry, I'm not that interested in you. Let's be so for real. I saw someone else highlight that, and that's all I need to see because I knew it was going to be that. It was a very disingenuous, I'm sorry, if. And I know this is very much a Housewives trope, but it's also a given that you're very immature and unevolved when you don't know how to apologize properly. And I'm learning that this is a theme when it comes to a lot of these Housewives, because for those who are new to my channel, hello, welcome. I already mentioned before, I am a newer watcher and reviewer of Housewives. I did not watch Housewives prior to the pandemic. I started watching it and getting caught up to the things during the pandemic. So I didn't know that there's just these grown women who just don't know how to apologize out in this world. And I'm just like, wow. Like, if you say I'm sorry, but... or if I'm sorry, if, those are not apologies. Those are non-apology apologies. You could just save that. And you could just save the video. And, shout out to Kempire. But one thing that he said about Shamia is she cannot help but to be cringe. And that is what I thought the whole entire time I was watching the show with. Like, the first 2 episodes, I was like, okay, Shamia is giving us something. Maybe we missed it. But then she basically proved that she is Marlo 2.0. And you know what that means? That means she was a friend of forever, and they promoted her to the main, to the main cast, and maybe they should have never done that. And it also kind of makes me think maybe that's why they're not doing that with the girls of Real Housewives of Miami, because maybe the producers and stuff know that some of these women are just too thirsty, so they keep them in a certain role. Like, I don't know. These are just kind of like how I'm thinking off the top of my head. But without further ado, I know I kind of skipped right into it. I kind of got to the conclusion right away. But let's get into the actual review, and I'll kind of just give you a play-by-play what took place. All right, let's go. Okay, so the reunion resumes, and we still have Shamea and Portia going back and forth about their friendship. And we get into the issues that occurred between Shamea and Portia's mom, because Shamea is like basically complaining about how Portia brought their moms into this. And honestly, it was kind of foreshadowing, because Miss Diane already kind of brought up on camera how she didn't trust Shamea or Portia and their friendship. And so I don't understand. I mean, maybe, well, I guess, no, it doesn't make sense. I guess to me, because at first I was just like, that doesn't make, I don't understand how Shamea didn't know that was going to probably happen. Because let's be so for real, Portia was producing right there at that moment. Miss Diane already brought it up about how they weren't cool on camera prior to Portia bringing it up on social media. And I will say this about Portia, even though she underperformed in the season, I'm going to give her a little something. She kind of tried to make up for it when it came to her YouTube channel and social media. She was working her behind off to try to promote the season and promote the show after the fact. It's just unfortunate that on the season itself, she underperformed, like, tremendously. She was kind of a flop on the actual season itself. But the aftermath and all that is kind of playing a part in this reunion. So a lot of things that we're now talking about were things that didn't even happen on the show. Actually, most of Shamea and Portia's issues were things that had nothing to do with what was happening on the actual show itself. Other than Shamea basically talking to everyone else about how she feels about Portia, but Portia. And that's supposed to be her best friend. And I'm like, girl, how are you a friend if you do that? Like, I think one thing is, if Shamea's been but I also think Portia's being very, very sensitive, trying to say that Shamea is trying to sabotage her. I don't think Shamea was trying to sabotage her. I think Shamea needs to go to therapy and figure out how to conflict resolute, because clearly she doesn't know how to do that with her friends. And honestly, I kind of actually, not to make this about me, but child, you already know I'm going to make it about me. It's my channel. I'm going to do this. I kind of just talked to my friends about this kind of recently. I have conflict resolution issues when it comes to rejecting, advances. I can do it when it's someone that I know and I'm familiar with, but if it's just a random stranger kind of hitting on me, unless they're just I could just get out of there very quickly, I could do it. That's a non-issue. But if I feel like you might just kill me, you might just off me, or where I live and you're kind of a stranger and you're hitting on me, I will entertain you. By entertaining you, I will say the things that you want to hear. I'm not going to do anything action wise. Let's be so for real. But I will say things to be nice, but I don't have any interest. I'm probably never going to talk to you ever again. And I know that's not a good way of handling things. I actually, because it happened to me twice this weekend, I'm just okay, I need to talk to my therapist and figure it out, because it's a new thing for me. It hasn't been a thing for me for a long time, because I usually just don't get myself in situations where that happens. But it's happened to me randomly twice this weekend, and it's been really weird. And it's been situations where I've been actually uncomfortable, and I'm by myself, and it's okay, if I say the wrong thing, you could just off me. And that's a horrible way of feeling and thinking. But in the world that we live in today, you just never can be, you can never be sure. So I know that's a very extreme case of things, but I feel like Shamia does that with all her situations. Not just like, and even people that are supposed to be her friends. And I guess for me, that's like, I don't have that problem with my friends. When it's my friends, I can tell the truth and be honest and stuff. I'm not that conflict avoidant when it comes to my friends. But when it comes to strangers and I don't know your intentions, and I'm in a spot where I'm like, it's just me and you, and I don't think there's a security camera here. And even if there is a security camera here, I don't want a situation to happen. That's where I'm just kind of like, okay, I don't know what to do here. Yeah, I don't even know why I brought that up. Maybe I just need to say something. I'm going to talk to my therapist about that for sure. But anyway, Shamia, I feel like Shamia should have, I hope she really did take away from this reunion that is her problem in general. Because I feel like so many times during the reunion, this came up. And I mean, everyone was kind of saying it to her like, girl, you need to work on that because it's weird. And I mean, really, when it comes to the crux of it, I think part of it is a self-esteem thing. And I will even say for me, I don't think mine is necessarily self-esteem. It's kind of a self-esteem thing. I feel like part of it is that, you know, it's a security thing or not feeling secure. I think it's partially that. I don't know. I'll have to talk through my therapist when it comes to that. But when in the case of the Shamia and Portia thing, I guess for me, I wouldn't want a friend like that if you don't even feel comfortable enough to tell me what's going on with you. That's kind of dangerous in a weird way. You know what I mean? So they're going back and forth. They're talking about their mamas. They're also then talking about the friendship group that's outside the show. And Shamia is basically still spewing the same thing about how Portia never really wanted her on the show as a main cast member on the show. And which we find out that's a lie. We completely find out that was non-true. Because Portia was like, Andy, you can literally vouch for me. Did I ever say that? And Portia and Andy was like, no, you've always wanted her to be full-time on the show. Always. And I'm like, so yeah, Shamia, girl, the conclusion that I came up with, I mentioned earlier in this video, Shamia seems to be the problem. She seems to be the problem when it comes to a lot of these issues. A lot of the issues. And she's just very non-self-aware. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so then next we see that the guys are getting ready because we know they're going to join us on the stage shortly. And then from there, we go on to the Drew segment. And the Drew segment was very, very interesting. And I'm glad that she got a full-on segment. Like, it was very nice that she had a full segment. Because I don't think Kelly really got a full segment for real. You notice that? Kelly really could have been not here, not on the show. Kelly was kind of a disappointment. She was just kind of just there. I'll just say that. She really didn't do much when it came to this reunion. Just like Shamia was a flop, so was, to me, I think Kelly was a flop too when it came to this reunion. But anyway, Drew talks about her divorce and everything that's going on. And then she mentions that she does take her kids to therapy. Because remember on the show that her mom called out that her kids are not doing good when it comes to, they're acting out as a result of everything that's going on between her and Ralph. And so she put them in therapy. And then she also then they talk about her and Ralph and the arrangement that they have. And to my surprise, Portia actually vouched for Drew. It was like, no, their arrangement that they have, that's kind of normal in Georgia. Like, apparently that was an arrangement that Portia and Cornell had, like, where they had to stay in the same house. And I kind of thought it was that because I thought the main reason why is like, because even Croy and Kim have a similar arrangement, because it's a matter of if someone leaves the house, then that other person can claim the house as like their asset. So therefore, in order to make sure you don't leave the house until that gets figured out, you both stay in the house in order to avoid that. So I kind of thought that was a thing, but that, yeah, so that was kind of called out. And a lot throughout this reunion, and especially this episode, they try to call Drew out when it comes to her lies. And Drew's lies are right lies. They're never serious lies. And some of the things that they were trying to call her out about were her lies are omissions. She's an omission liar. She is an omission liar, but all of them are liars. Like, I forgot who said it. I think it was Kempire. Shout out to Kempire yet again. He was like, this is a reunion of the lie-offs. Everybody lying. Which, child, it turned out to be true that this is a reunion of the lie-offs, because I didn't know Shamia was going to be the biggest liar. She actually was the biggest liar of this reunion, which was shocking to me. I thought it was going to be either Portia, or I really thought it was just going to be Portia. I didn't think it was going to be Drew, because Drew, her lies are harmless, and most of her lies, if you look back, were usually about her and Ralph. They were never really about, and they're always about like her, like when she was joking about how she's saying she's Michael Jordan's cousin. Everyone knows she's lying, but that was a joke. It's not really serious. But anyway. So then Kelly, there was a question that came up about how they wish, how they wish that the other ladies were rallied around Drew's divorce, but yet they were like, it seemed like they were so focused on Portia's divorce and Kelly's divorce, but they weren't really focusing on Drew's divorce. And then Kelly and her fake behind out of nowhere was like, I just really wish I would have been able to be there for you through your divorce. I really wish we would have built a better friendship than what we built. And it's like, girl. And Angela cracked me up at this moment because she was just like, child, you are lying. But she's like, you know what? I'm going to stay out of it. And I'm like, smart. Angela in this third part, and I think Angela, knowing that her husband was going to be on stage, she showed up and showed down in this part 3. I feel like Drew did part 1 and part 2 very well. And then Angela was kind of an honorable mention, but kind of a flop depending on how you look at it. And also Portia in part 2 was kind of on it too. And then this part 3, it was really Charles Oakley that won part 3. Charles Oakley was on 1 and it was cracking me up. And Angela was right behind him, and Drew was right behind him too. Oh, I forgot to mention when Portia and Shamia were going back and forth. What? And this is when I'm like, Andy, I wish you would catch it. She don't be catching things. Kelly caught it, but like they didn't elaborate on it. So apparently when that infamous night, like 11 years ago, Shamia and Portia kissed Candy. And Shamia was with Gerald already at this moment. So, okay. Interesting. All right. Okay. So anyway, Kelly then, after she gets called out for being fake, she tries to say, well, my problem with you is like your lies. And then, Drew's like, name them. Name them. And Kelly did. Kelly actually did a better job than Shamia did this moment. And she kind of was right. Drew, I love you, girl, but I feel like you were lying. And then you cleaned it up, and then, it turned out you actually were lying. So you kind of got caught. You got caught. You did something that Shamia couldn't do, and that's actually catch Drew in a lie, and you actually brought up one that actually was a valid, a lot of us knew that Drew was kind of lying when it came to that, but we just let it go. Because again, it was a white lie. So what Kelly called out was like, so at my event that I had for you purchasing the different bags and everything, you were supposed to purchase it at that moment. You claimed you purchased something and yet you didn't. And Drew was like, no, I did. She didn't purchase it at the event. She purchased it after the fact. But the problem is with that is that her doing it that way, the money didn't go back to charity. And Drew was like, well, instead of you just accusing me of lying right away, you should have talked to me about it. I was like, but girl, you lied because you didn't purchase it at the event. The whole purpose of the event was for that. And Drew knew that, but that was her way around it. because maybe the funds weren't funding the day before, but then she got her acting check like the next day. You know how sometimes the money be funny. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know, Drew, but I was trying to help you out there. But the point is, though, she was not telling the truth when it came to her buying something in the event. We cleared it up and found out she did buy something, just not during the event, which was the whole purpose of this said event. And so Kelly was like, okay, well, I shouldn't have just accused you of this, that, and this, and that, but like, that's what it was. So you didn't get something. And then as they're going back and forth, and Angela, they're going back and forth, for Shamia's like, and Angela's like, Shamia's like, are you going to say something? She's like, child, when she right, she right. And Shamia's like, I know that's right. And she's like, child, that was funny. Angela's little side conversations and side comments were cracking me up this third part. That's what was getting me, because she's like, Drew was lying right there. And I was like, oh man, that was funny. But anyway, no big deal. They kind of clear that up. So next. So the next thing that comes up was a whole comment on PJ and going to college and how Shamia spent the story. And Portia, after watching the show and watching how it came up originally, Portia is totally with the rest of the world saying Drew was not being shady. And then Shamia's like, okay, well, next time I'm just going to mind my own business. And Portia, and Drew was like, yeah, you probably should. And she's like, but you were being shady. It's like, so how are you going to tell someone that they're being shady when no one else thought she was being shady but you? You're the only one that thought she was being shady. And she's like, fine, I'm going to mind my business for now on. I was like, yeah, you should mind your business for now on. And then after that, then like she was trying to go ahead and say like, well, and then from there they had the conversation about how both Shamia and Portia were being really, really shady and kind of messed up in buying Ralph out to like lunch and, you know, basically behind Drew's back trying to be messy. And Shamia owns up to, yeah, I was being messy, but I was mad. And then the one of the viewers is like, you know, by you doing that, that was very much lapdog behavior. She's like, well, if I keep getting constantly being accused of being a lapdog, I figured I just might as well be a lapdog. I'm just like, you are so cringe, Shamia. And then even Angela was even similar to like, so you remember how part 2 Drew was like, I just want you to do so much better for yourself. Why did Angela kind of give the similar talk to Shamia? She's like, girl, would you quit calling yourself that? That's just not cool. And Shamia's like, no. I'm getting accused of this, so therefore I'm just going to do that. And she's like, you know, you call it that, but I call it being there for my friends, similar to like how Angela, you were there for Drew. Angela's like, I'm too big to sell in anybody's lab. Let's be so for real. I was like, and she came up with that way quick. You could tell that was off the dome. She's like, I'm too big to sell in anybody's lab. Let's be so clear, okay? Let's make that first thing clear. And second of all, that is not the same. And I agree. Angela was not giving lapdog behavior. Even in this reunion, she proved the point that she's not a lapdog. In this reunion, you are still proving that you are indeed a lapdog. And Shamia, Pepper's Farm will never forget that you literally sat on Portia's lap looking goofy, looking like a lapdog. And now a lapdog has a lapdog, and the lapdog is Kelly. It's just like, oh my God. It's just like, Shamia, I need you to go and get some help, some therapy, and figure this behavior out, because it's so low vibrational. I don't even know how I feel about it. But anyway, so then next we get into the lady, Drew, and her relationship with Ty. We know we're never going to get a real answer from Drew when it comes to her and Ty. I love you, Drew, but girl, I know you lying. I feel like you were wanting to experience the Ty of it all, because bear with me. Now me, because I am fluid, I would. Ty, Ty, yeah, I would, but I also like women, so that is not a shocker. But Ty has that aura about her that straight women would go for her. She has that aura. Like, look at Mimi False. Mimi False, after Ty is basically back to normal, like, not normal, sorry, a heterosexual relationship. I hate when I do that. And, it's old programming, when you say that. But, she's back to, a heterosexual relationship, Mimi False. I feel like Ty is probably the last woman she'll ever date. But Ty just has that thing about her where you're just like, hey, yeah. Anyway, I kind of have a crush on Ty. Let's be so real. I got a crush on Ty. And even Portia, when she was trying to call Drew out on her lack of transparency of the people she's dating, Portia was like, "Oh no, if I find a Ty 2.0, she'll be right here." Because Portia has very open, I'm glad now Portia's living her truth, and she's like, no, I'm fluid. I would. But most of us would. A lot of us would. Let's just be so for real. Especially if you already, like women. That's a no-brainer. But anyway, then the black conversation comes up. This guy that's a friend of hers. And Drew was like, okay, well, speaking of black, I actually have something for all of you. So she gives everyone flavored hookah that's from Black's businesses. And so Andy then follows up, like, so are you dating him? I was like, no. We're just really, really close friends. I'm really not interested in dating anyone at this moment. If I'm dating someone, I would share it on the show. I would be very transparent about it. Drew made a point to say if I'm dating a guy, if I'm dating him, if I'm dating any man, and then Portia corrected her real quick, or woman. And Drew was like, I know that's what you do, but that's not what I do. It's like, Drew, stop it. I love you, Drew, but girl, that's the part where I'm like, Drew, you and that Ty thing's one thing. That is one of the main chinks in your armor about. That's one of your main major lies you have is the Ty of it all. But whatever. We're going to let it go. We're going to leave it alone. And then from there, I forgot what else I was going to say there. Oh, and then as the commercial break's about to happen, I don't know if you saw this on the Bravo version. They're basically talking about how Drew was like, yeah, but I saw you out in these streets with this African man. And Portia was like, yeah, actually, no, that was probably me. That's on brand. I was like, dang. And that when I was watching Portia and Drew go back and forth, lightly shading each other, but you could tell it was a friendly shading each other, it made me so upset that we did not get that during the season. Because them two, they were cracking me up. It was funny to me. It was a key. It's similar to how I shade my so I have a really, really close best friend. I've talked about, I think, multiple times on this channel, I feel like. And we go to concerts, we do a lot of stuff together. But we just have this friendly banter, like a brother-sister banter. And lately, my mouth has been a little bit extra when it comes to the shade of it all. And I don't think he'd be expecting it because it comes out of nowhere. He's like, what the? And I was joking with him yesterday. I'm sorry, I've been watching too much Housewives lately. I'm sorry. Because I'd be surprised how quick-witted I am with the shade. It just pops up and I just say it. Because I think my filter that I have within me is gone. I think it's slowly diminishing. So the things that are shady there in my head, I just say it out loud. I'm like, what? Anyway, let's move on. And by the way, I am so sorry if this video seems all over the place and crazy. This is my third Housewife review video in a row. I am knocking these out because I don't want to have to film anything again until Thursday. So I'm just trying to knock it all out. And this is my last video. So we're chugging along. And I'm editing. So I have one video that I'm uploading for Real Housewives Miami right now, while I'm editing the videos for Real Housewives of Orange County while I'm recording this. All at the same dang time. At the same dang time. Sorry, I'm just doing a lot. But anyway, moving on. So the guys actually finally joining us on the stage. And yes, finally, but not finally. It's kind of annoying because I'm just like, oh my gosh, Ralph, why are you here? Ugh. I feel like at that moment I was Drew. Because I'm just like, why is he here? But anyway, Portia, Dennis, and Drew, they're talking about like the whole music thing of it all. And then immediately Ralph goes to slam Drew because that's what he does. He doesn't know how to support his, well, now going to be ex-wife. He didn't know how to support her when they were married either. All he does is just try to humiliate her on national TV. And I like, at least in this reunion, finally, Drew was over him. She's like, and she was going back and forth with him. She was not letting him do that to her. I was like, oh. So to me, I feel like that divorce is real. Oh, because also the other thing that came up was that video that Ralph put on his social media of them cooking together for like, I think it was Memorial Day weekend or something like that, or Juneteenth. Those were one of the holidays. And yeah, Drew was like, yeah, no, that was an attempt to try to co-parent, and then he put a caption in trying to make it something else, and it's not that. I don't want that man. And the thing is, I actually believe Drew. This is one of those rare times I'm like, I believe Drew, because the way she was going off, kind of like not letting him do what he normally does to her when he was on the stage, it's given she's over that man. She wants this divorce to be done, and she just is over it. Especially with him being in the basement. And then she also does mention that Ralph is dating a woman, and she goes downstairs. And so as Ralph is trying to lie on Drew just has, you know, all the women are like, well, yeah, we were kind of hating you for a moment before you got on stage. And then I think Andy mentioned something about the woman that Ralph is dating. And Ralph's like, I'm not dating anyone. No one, like, that's not true. I don't have someone coming in the house. But then the thing is, his reasoning and his excuse, I could tell you're lying, because when you were replying, stutter, he was lying. He was lying. So it makes me think that Drew is not lying. I never thought Drew was lying when it came to the Ralph and Drew situation, especially when it comes to him being negative towards her. Whenever she was trying to sugarcoat it and make it seem like the relationship was doing great, that's when I always thought Drew was lying, because we never saw that in real life. We always saw Ralph treating this show like as a humiliation ritual for Drew Sidora. That's what we were always calling out. And also, too, I don't think Kenya would be so annoyed with the man this badly if she didn't see the tea leaves herself. So, yeah. Anyway. Oh, yeah. So another thing came up, which I'm sorry, I might be going out of order a little bit here. Drew mentions how hurt she was that Portia was not really believing the issues that she has with Ralph, because Drew has told her and expressed the things that have been going on with her and Ralph. She actually expressed it to her when Portia was filming her spinoff, and Drew came to like one of her events during the spinoff. She actually explained, like, you know, things are not good. And so we basically find out throughout this whole entire part of the reunion that the four of them, so like Ralph, Drew, Dennis, and Portia, you know, they kind of have this dynamic because apparently Dennis and Ralph are close, like they're friends in real life or whatever. So that's why it's kind of intermingled a little bit. But anyway, so then the other thing I wrote down is Dennis is not really owning up to anything that was allegedly said. Ralph is agreeing with what Portia said, but Ralph is full of it. And he's literally on his blue pill thing. And I do like that they were for when Ralph was talking, because the thing that basically brought everyone on Drew's side is the fact that Ralph insulted Drew's mom. And that was not cool. And that's the other reason why I think Drew is just done and over Ralph, because she's like, you insulted my mom. And my mom is one of the women, that's one of the only people that's holding me together at this moment. So yeah, no. Respectfully, F you. I feel like that's kind of how she's giving it up right now. You know what I mean? And so Portia was like, kind of was the wise one at this moment. She's like, yeah, you gotta apologize to his mom. Ralph, you have to apologize to Drew's mom. That's not okay. And, Portia was like, from the standpoint of a woman who's getting divorced, without our moms, we are not good. And I'm like, facts. I've never been married or divorced before, but when things are not going good, if I don't talk to my mama, I'm not good. I gotta be able to talk to my mama. Like, full transparency, after I film these reviews, I'm calling my mama after that. Because I haven't talked to her in about a week. And I talk to my mom about once a week. Like, and to me, that's not enough. I just ain't got enough time to talk to her as much as I would like. You know what I mean? And also, too, I'm just not someone that really loves to talk on the phone. But when it comes to my mama, I'm going to talk on the phone. Okay? That's just what it is. But anyway, I get it. Moving on. And then really the rest of the reunion was a Charles Oakley show. The rest of this part of the reunion was a Charles Oakley show. I feel like the only reason why the 3 parts were even able to happen was because of Charles Oakley. If Charles Oakley was not such a key, there would have been no way a 3-part would happen. So thank you. I guess we should thank him for that. I don't know. I don't think we should, but because it really still could have been 2 parts. But they got away with it because Charles. So anyway, Charles and Angela were talking about how, Andy's just like in awe that, they have him on the show because he is a high profile person to be on a Housewives show. That's major. To me, that's bigger than Martina and F. Martina. I just want a reason to say that. I'll be honest. But anyway, Charles Oakley's a big deal, okay? I know I'm not right. And so they first talk about Angela. They first talk about Charles and Angela's mom. And Charles tries to, kind of be as sensitive as he can be about the situation. He's like, yeah, I'm glad I got, that we did kind of get some clarity and get some resolve when it comes to strained relationship between him and his mother-in-law. But unfortunately, they never got to actually have the meeting. So before she passed away. And you could tell Charles really felt something because he was being kind of stoic here. He's that generation that isn't going to be showing that kind of the emotions aren't going to be crazy emotional, but you can see enough where you're like, okay, I got you. And he, basically this whole entire part, he's basically just saying how much he loves his wife. He loves Angela, but he's just not someone who's going to put on for the cameras. He's like, that's not how I naturally give it up. I'm not a naturally affectionate person, and I'm not going to do all that just to appease cameras. Like, it has to come off natural. And I will say this, Angela kind of set things up a lot when it came to how she looked crazy, because I feel like she didn't, whether she knew she was doing it intentionally or not, she was doing that a lot. And it actually didn't really come off natural. So I agree with Charles when it comes to that. And then they talk about Shamia. So Shamia tried to claim that she knows Charles, and Charles was like, no, you don't know me. And he made, when you thought Shamia was having a bad reunion, Charles put the nail in Shamia's coffin. He's like, girl, I don't know you. We might have been in the same room, but I don't know you. And then he rinsed and repeat and did it to Phaedra. And Phaedra was like, no, I know, we were in the same room. And he's like, exactly, we were in the same room. We don't know each other. I don't know you, and you don't know me. So therefore, you don't know. How can you know if I'm married or not? If you need to know if I'm married, I'm a name. Google me. The hell? And I was like, Charles. And then he was like, and y'all so worried about if I'm married or not, where are your husbands? I'm the only one here. And Shamia had to stay on mute in that mute challenge because also, too, we find out Gerald, they couldn't get a sitter. I'm like, okay, Robin Dixon. Okay. Child. Shamia, I want so much more for you. I'm sorry. I just have to say it. In the words of Drew Sidora, I want so much more for you. Your husband couldn't even show up for you when it was obvious you were going to have a rough reunion. Stevie Wonder could see that you're going to have yourself a rough reunion, and you couldn't even be like, get a sitter for a second to support me. He wouldn't have had to say much. He was only on one episode. He didn't even necessarily need to be on stage. You could have just had him be there, just waving, and that's it. But no, you really need to, Shamia, please get some self-work and don't pray it away. I'm sorry, praying it away ain't gonna get it done. You need some actual therapy. Anyway, because I know she felt away when she was like, yeah, because Andy was like, where's Gerald? And he's like, he gave me flowers. And he's like, oh, flowers for you? Well, yeah, they're for me. I'm like, the fact that Andy had, he shaded you and you didn't even know it, because it's like, he couldn't even show up for you for this reunion. He didn't need to be on camera. He could have just been behind. He could have been backstage. He could have pulled a Jody, from Real Housewives Miami. They didn't bring him on stage. He was just there. But anyway, you do you. You continue being the supporting role in your own life, child. I'm sorry, Shamia triggers me because Shamia reminds me of the place that I never want to be in again. That Shamia was how full transparency, I was a lot like Shamia, from all the way until college, really. I would really say, to be truthful, I was kind of a people pleaser all the way until I was 24, 25. Once I became a runner, it changed things for me. And after that, the person you see today is because of me becoming a runner and dedicating my life to health and fitness and really changing my mindset when it comes to most things in life. But if it wasn't for that, I would still be like Shamia. But so it just bothers me that I'm seeing someone who's my age and still is moving that way. It's like, oh man, you've had so much time to find yourself and you still ain't found it. And I know sometimes it just takes some people more time than others, but it's just the most frustrating thing to see it. It's really frustrating to see it. Because full transparency, I actually really, really do want to like Shamia, but I need her to love herself before she expects any of us to like her. Because to me, I feel like she doesn't. And that's that on that. Let's wrap this up though. So after the men's leave, we have all the women's final thoughts. Kelly mentions how she's just so happy, with everyone on the show and hopes that everyone could be in one accord, blah, blah, blah. I don't really remember what Kelly really said, just because I don't believe anything Kelly says. Because Kelly kind of gives fake to me. But anyway. Then after that, and I didn't feel like that until this reunion. This reunion kind of really gave it away for sure. I mean, the after shows did because she was a flip-flopper throughout the season. But then this reunion, I was like, ooh, girl. Phaedra explains how the 2 weeks of her being on the show was great. And she loved that Grenada trip and she would love to do it again. Angela, basically got her flowers for basically carrying this season on her back, because she literally did. And she thanks all the Fangelas. Hold on. I'm a Fangela too. Hold on. Just in case you know I was a Fangela, one moment. I'm a Fangela too. And side note, I did not get this because of Angela Oakley. Well, okay, I did. Not because of the show, but because, child, I'm pretty sure I'm perimenopausal as well, and I've been sometimes I have my own personal summers too. And the way this summer's been summering, I was like, Angela, you a goat for letting us all know you too can resolve your own personal summers. I'm sorry. I am goofy. You can tell I am silly today. Anyway, so then Cynthia says her final piece about how, she was glad to be kind of the matriarch of the group, and she definitely was. And then Shamia, oh God, she said something. I don't really remember. Oh, she said how she is going to try to self-reflect and work on, being honest with people about how she feels about things. And I really hope she's not just saying that. She actually really does that and really does the work, because, child, the way everyone called it out that this is a problem of yours and how you just let things blow up. And that's why you're like public enemy number one. And you kind of went from a fan favorite the first two episodes just like falling apart, including this reunion. And then this stupid apology. Shamia, why? And because, okay, what bothers me about Shamia even more is after this reunion, because we knew this reunion was filmed a while back, she proceeds to go back and forth with both Drew and Portia on social media during this reunion. And then after this reunion is over with, she does this PR apology to all the ladies. And it's like, you clearly didn't work on anything. You didn't do any self-reflection, because if you did, you would have got your behind off of social media and sat with your feelings and really work through your issues instead of continuing this passive aggressive stuff you've been doing, because it's ridiculous. And you wouldn't be arguing about things that don't really matter. Like, again, what is your beef with? I still don't understand what her beef is with Drew. It's so annoying. But anyway. So then we end it with Portia, and Portia has the fans and give the fans to everyone, and they do the fan dance at the end, and Andy twerks, and I don't know if I need to ever see that, but I did. Anyway, but that does conclude the reunion part 3, and this season is a wrap. Thank God. But anyway, that does conclude my review. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and I will see you next time. Bye.